poem to the fallen commanders of Standard Brawl. From plains afar and crypts of gloom, they marched through fire, through steel and bloom. But now their tales, once fierce and grand, are whispers lost in shifting sand. At dusk they ruled the table wide, Liliana's thralls at her cold side. Her eyes like dust, her voice like death, she summoned dread with every breath. Etali roars through flame and storm, a primal force in fearsome form. He strike ablaze a comet's cry, now silence where he scorched the sky. Atraxa soared with wings outspread, infectious might where angels dread. She blessed the strong, she cursed the weak, now only ghosts her praises speak. And Gix, the whisper in the wire, a Phyrexian mind of dark desire, he schemed and fed on mortal thoughts. Now cast aside his threats are caught. No more they rise when decks are dawn. The rain is past, their moment gone. The format shifts, the bell has tolled. New legends rise as old grow cold. Yet in our minds they still enthrall the fallen stars of Standard Brawl. Hello everybody, with this upcoming rotation to Standard Brawl, a couple of very powerful commanders are going to be leaving this format. One of which I wanted to highlight two, and especially going for black, we're going to be showcasing Gix, Yawgmoth Praetor in Standard Brawl, as well as Liliana of the Veil. As for Gix, what makes him pretty strong, you've seen him in the format, either is in Standard Brawl with 60 cards or 100 card Brawl. The ability for whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller pay 1 life. If they do, they draw a card. The idea with this type of decks, you have a couple cheap creatures, many of them with dead touch, flying, difficult to deal with, require interaction, and with Gix you're able to draw cards. And what are you drawing? Most of the time you're looking for removal. Any sort of interaction, deal with your opponent's cards, and just keep that card draw train going. So for this list, it is very heavy into the small creatures, interaction, duress to hit their hand, and of course, the Deep Cavern Bat. Additionally, in Standard Brawl, I do like the combo with Unholy Annex with a couple of demons, Bloodletters here with the combo with the Unstoppable Slasher from OTK, and as it's a demon, it also synergizes with the Annex as well, as one of the best ways to draw cards. Phyrexian Arena is also pretty nice. I run that in the Liliana list. So let's see how is the Liliana list. For our second showcase is Liliana the Veil. But Liliana Veil, you've known it, you've played against it in Standard Brawl. She's quite popular, one of the best, strongest commanders in the format. It's not unbeatable. There are definitely decent decks around it. There are two big ways you can deal with Liliana. The best is go white strategies. Decks that play multiple creatures a turn makes when the turn you play Liliana significantly harder to deal with. Liliana pretty much is the mid-range killer. It is very good into the decks that are just a little bit too slow for you, that want to play one big creature a turn. Liliana will just eat them for breakfast. There is very few things you can do into that commander. Locks him out the game completely. The opponent does nothing or has blue, and you play Liliana first. They're in a really bad spot because you're able to +1, hit their hand. They have to now discard very valuable cards or lands and risk not hitting those lands, and just threaten to ultimate. In this Liliana list, it's very heavy into interaction. We have also a couple ways to draw cards, plus with the whole Unholy Annex, and this list runs a bit more demons with Demon Wall and the Soulstone Sanctuary in the case we want to start draining our opponents with the Unholy Annex as it starts doing damage if we have a demon in the field. And very important with this list, either you want to transform this list for Brawl as soon as Liliana rotates, or keep playing her before rotation happens, is heavy in the interaction. Run many ways to interact. Planeswalkers are very prevalent, so have also some sort of enchantment and planeswalker removal is quite useful. Bitter Triumph is quite nice. There's also the sacrifice effect as well, with nowhere to run to hit. The opponent have any sort of way to give hexproof or ward, nowhere to run just bypasses it, does quite well. I also really like the smaller creatures, especially the bat. Hitting their hand and just having perfect information is extremely powerful. Even if you trade a counterspell, you still get to see their hand. That's why even cards like Dreams of Steel and the opponent doesn't have creatures, you know, okay, then I can go for my Liliana +1 and clear the way for a win. So let's see how we do with Liliana with Gex. Alright, we got cut down bat. It's pretty good. This does beat Vivi, but they can play around it. So that's very strong here because we can hit. First of all, we see their hand, and we can play around counter magic. If they counter for the bat, that would probably be their best play. I would say that's the only thing that can maybe get us is they have counter magic for turn 2 and 3, and they have a way around cut down, which is possible. It looks like they will counter this, which is fine. Okay, burn it. I trade a bat for a counter spell, which is good for me. If they beat me this turn, we can deal with it. Let's see how greedy they want to be. Interesting. Well, Liliana, make them this time.
Of sight? And you think you can drop it?
Do I think I get to that Liliana? I think I'm not gonna get to that point. For now, I value the lands. They do get to do their setup. So that's what they want to do. I do have to say one of the disadvantages here, they may look to try to win in a single turn with Vivi. Can hit their hand.
I'm tired of your secrets.
I think Shelly. One of the few ways I can see us losing if they draw a ton of cards, and this punishes it. And you see drawing. Drawing is one of their few ways out. I mean, I just minus here.
One of your friends has to leave.
And I just play Shelly again. Alright. Now we kill it and force interaction. Yeah, we locked him out. So, Liliana is still a lot stronger than Vivi. It's gonna be one of the decks that really likes the fact that Liliana is rotating. GG's. Do go second, that's not a bad hand. Not. Our souls, the overlord is the more. They plot, so you can make them discard cards.
This is my home, and I don't appreciate it. You won't be outsmarting
Hitting
me.
their hand. I even think next turn we can even minus or threaten to plus. Depends on what they play. Flyers are annoying. I think that's what we're gonna do. Yeah. I believe we are gonna be keeping the arena. So we deal with you two, we deal with the entire board. Is that the better play? And we minus? We can deal with both, keep you, because you're a blocker. And we can threaten to plus. Probably have to give up the land. I think we're minusing.
Haven't you ever heard of personal space?
Do with you, because you draw cards. You know. Empty our hand. We start plussing. We have the arena for next turn. We're gonna need to Withering Torment in a couple turns, but we have time now. The Demon Wall mainly here is a blocker for Liliana early game, and later is not even that.
Delay,
Alright.
nothing more.
And with the NX, we get to do damage. Alright, you're good. I do want the arena though. Arena. And because the opponent gave me maps, now Demon Wall can hit. Ward is annoying, but not the end of the world. I believe here we are destroying that and getting the ward. And let's do this. Cards, lands. Keep our curve going. Any creature, a small creature, we can deal with cut down. A larger one, we have Liliana. That's the power of Liliana there. We would just have value them from this point on. GG's. Alright, we have nice hand into Giada. Giada's really strong in Brawl. In Standard Brawl, there's a lot less angels. A bit more difficult to hit her curve. But this matchup in either format is, if Giada sticks, you lose the game. Simple as that. She can play without her commander, but it's nowhere near as scary as her on the board because she scales with consecutive angels. She's an anthem, mana rock, and is a nice hitter. Get the bat. Invasion is annoying. Roaming throne I can deal with. What else? I don't like invasion. It disrupts our curve. Alright, get the cut down here. Most likely playing one of the two angels. I'm thinking dealing with that because we can Gix next turn or Bloodletter. Two options, or just let that stick. If we do, I can get a Bloodletter hit. What is the disadvantage? He can throw him, or I can't deal with the next Giada. And we do just Bloodletter here. If I had two removal pieces, I would remove that angel. But we need to salvage our last removal piece. Like Giada, we have to deal with it. For this specific line is where I'm hitting with you. See if he takes it or just blocks. Set up. This forces a block. There, and we can Gix next turn. Sometimes Giada do run board wipe, so we'll see. Right here, we're gonna take in full advantage of drawing. We have to block this slasher. Now that's lethal. This is the Bloodletter combo. It's pretty common in standard, in normal 60 other 60 card formats. You haven't know the combo is slasher. When it does damage, they lose half their life. Bloodletter is if an opponent would lose life during your turn, the turn we attack, they lose twice as much life. So the moment you have the Bloodletter and the slasher, you don't block the slasher, you just lose the game. But normally they're very weak to removal. You just remove one of the pieces. But in that case, they had to block the slasher to stay in the game. GG's. For the post-game wrap with the two commanders, they're both very powerful. I would say Liliana is by far one of the stronger ones of the staples of the format. They're going to be leaving. Gix as well. From release to now, I do feel Gix is not as powerful as what he used to be. There are significantly stronger commanders that have released since his debut. Don't get me wrong, he's not unbeatable, and he is not the absolute strongest deck out there, but there are a lot of commanders that are still in the format and won't be rotating that can absolutely beat Gix. For example, Elspeth, the Elspeth commander, is a complete powerhouse in both of the formats. I would say the fatal flaw of that Elspeth deck is you need to draw lands. You miss a land, it's devastating because as soon as Elspeth dies once, you really need to hit that second time. You need two more lands at that point of the game, especially in white. Drawing cards is difficult. Black has a much easier time to drawing cards, and with Liliana disrupting hand, she's significantly stronger. Of course, other decks that will heavily benefit from Liliana leaving would be Vivi. Vivi really does not like the Liliana matchup, especially if you run heavy emphasis on hand disruption. Vivi can try to hold counters up, but normally Liliana decks run creatures and can just keep hitting your hand And if she ever just slips to the battlefield, it's pretty much over for Vivi. They will start to lose their hand, and the -2 plus with the added interaction is too much for that commander to deal with. It was one of the few commanders that really keep those combo decks in check, but with her rotating, is gonna hit those pretty well. As for other commander decks, I would say ramp decks also really will benefit from Liliana leaving. I would say the one of the closest matchup is Liliana versus Elspeth. Elspeth really did not mind too much. It's one of the few decks could fight back into the Liliana. I would say this is one of the biggest commanders from the format. Other good matchups that Liliana had as well. Blue decks in general, because you have creatures and the opponents, especially if you go first, Liliana is pretty devastating. And if you have the bat really can just win you the game. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment below, what cards will you not be missing leaving the format? Thanks for watching.